we head in towards this next leg of Europe with three different winners in the last three races. Could we get a fourth tonight, or will we see someone double up their total tally of wins and edge that little bit closer towards Asphalt King's glory? My name is Adam Reed. I'll be the solo commentary tonight, and of course, there will be plenty of our amazing production team behind the scenes. We've got a very, very interesting session tonight. Of course, a new, well, I say a new circuit to the championship. It is, well, as a fantasy circuit. It's not one we have in real life, but it surrounds the French lake around the Sainte B circuit. There are three different circuits around here, and this is the shortest configuration. Well, we say about the shortest, it's 7 kilometers, a little bit longer there. And the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, 14 kilometers around the woodlands of the French Riviera. It looks like we're going to be seeing lap times around about just over 2 minutes. So very much we're going to be seeing our drivers having to, have a lot of focus about their racing, and of course there'll be plenty of opportunities around. So we head into a very, very interesting circuit for sure. And so you just see there the map in the middle, very twisty, very, very tight around each part of the circuit. You get high speeds, low speeds, you get all sorts. So the drivers are going up a huge mix of everything surrounding this circuit, and then we'll have a look at the results from last week because they were mighty interesting from last week. It was this is the bottom half with Clint Orland taking fourth place, John Paul Vella taking fifth place, Mifsud followed by Sam, decent run by him, when Joel fouls on De Bono, and then Cassat and Ayrton Birmingham. Wow, what a disappointing run he had. He was on a superb form in the last two races, but then it moved on to a little bit of a worse, fairer form. Johnson Terry makes it. I believe this is. Yeah, he took the win. This is actually the second round of the championship. So my apologies. I'll update you on this one. It was Daniel Malia who took the win, I believe, ahead of Denzel Agius and then Jonathan Spiteri. There we go. The correct graphics are now up. It was Daniel Malia who took the win in his Nissan GTR from 2018. The Pennzoil coming out on top. Denzel Agius there, 6 seconds behind, but was just not quite able. But he had a masterful undercut, which led him to that second place, to close into within 1 point of Jonathan Spiteri, who was there in third place. Both championship contenders really putting up a fantastic fight. But if we head into the championship standings, you will see it is very much tightened up there. Jonathan Spiteri on 64 points ahead of Denzel Agius, who will be on 61. Daniel Malia on 50 as well. So the gap there, 14 points amongst the top three, continuously getting ever closer. As we predict, John Paul Vella will be in P4 with Mifsud, David Mifsud, and in P5, followed by Christian Samet, and then Ayrton Birmingham. 28 points for them two in the joint sixth place. Clint Orland will be there in P8, followed by Oscar Schwedev on 10 points. He's alongside Joel Falzon de Bono, Marlon Terry in P11, Owen Kassar in P12, Grima, Paj, and Chini to round off the 15 drivers who have registered for this event. We'll go on to the calendar to kind of show you what our trip looks like. We started off in Suzuka, went to Kyoto, the driving park, 2 superb rounds of the championship back to back, and then we head on our European legs. We started at Spa in Belgium and then make the quick hop, skip and jump over to Sainte Croix, and then we'll have a break before we then head to the Red Bull Ring over in Austria. We'll then head to the Deep Forest Raceway over in Switzerland. Of course, a country where you never normally get racing, but of course a fantasy circuit as well. So that seems to be 3 fantasy circuits on this Asphalt Kings calendar, and then we'll go over to the Nürburgring for going and hopping over across the ocean to the Daytona International Speedway to round off and crown our Asphalt Kings champion. This is going to be a big one, especially with, of course, Ayrton Birmingham having a little bit of a slip up. Our reigning champion not quite on the form that he was on last year, so he's really hoping to make amends here as he looks to now try and claw back. We've got a bit of a break coming up now, but remember, this is all in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist, all made possible by Velocity Esports Racing. We've got an ad break coming up, but just in a moment, we'll be qualifying next over this, of course, on the other side of this ad break. Don't go too far. Don't go too far, because otherwise you'll miss the qualifying session, which is something you don't want to be missing. We'll see you in just a moment. Then we'll head to the circuit of Sainte. Has just ended for our drivers, but they will be heading straight into this qualifying session. And there they go. They're heading out onto the circuit for their 15 minutes of qualifying. And the drivers now take their exploratory laps. So the drivers are now heading out for their qualifying session and taking to the circuit of Sainte around the lake of France. Of course, a lot of our drivers really trying to get used to their new surroundings, a surrounding that they really won't be used to. So you can see that the cloud there just hovering over the circuit, really trying to make life a little bit more difficult. So there could be potential of maybe the weather worsening, but that's what our driver's going to be hoping for. So cold conditions, it seems like it's going to be for our racing drivers, our sim racers out there. They're all in very, very close proximity. If they want to be out there, they need to be exploring the circuit. There is John Paul Vella in his Marlboro McLaren as he heads his way through the long right-hander. There's a lot of longitudinal corners around here, one that will very much wear the tyres out. So, you need to be very, very mindful of what these can do. Will of course be able to give you tyre wear updates as well, so they will be very much needed for this race, as we'll now have to see what's all the information that is given to us. There they are. All the info you can ever have is right there in front of you. I can see it, you can see it, and you can join in on the race as well to keep an eye on the fuel, on all the assists that are being used and the tyre wear that is being used. So here is Joel Falzon de Bono in his Nissan GTR, and he'll head towards that final corner, the long right sweeper, and on to all that main straight, tapping the barrier there on the left hand side already, so not getting the best run out of that 14th and final corner on the circuit. Joel Falzon de Bono will start his lap in towards the first corner. Let's get an onboard lap here, down in towards that first corner. It's a very, very fast corner. You can carry a lot of speed into that corner and then use all of the curving there on the left-hand side as you look to work your car through this section very, very fast. And now you're going to be hard on the brakes. Keep the car balanced as well before you head in towards this right-hander. Just make sure the car is settled before you hit the brakes, otherwise you could find yourself veering off into a barrier. Now keep it flat all the way around here. Make sure your visibility is wide open, heading down the hill, clipping the curb, and then you're heading in towards this left-hander. Use all the aero of the car, get the car slow down, continue to keep an eye on that balance, otherwise you'll find yourself maybe having a bit of rear loss. That's going to be so crucial during the race. Just hold on to your car, especially if there's someone chasing you down. Over the bridge we go into the left-hander, and this is where the technical section starts, because you're now starting to try and weave your way through the section between the Armco barriers. You see there on the lake on the left-hand side is a beautiful view, but you don't really want to go into it carrying all the speed there around that right-hander. You can carry a lot of it with the aero of these GT3. Remember, they're pretty aerodynamic, but of course not as a single-seater is what we usually just define aero with. Down in towards this very flat right-hander, a little right kick before heading in towards one of the slowest points of the circuit. You're just breaking it down to about 70 miles an hour for using the curb on the left-hand side. Bring it back to the right and almost giving this Nürburgring-esque feel, other than it's a little bit more forgiving. You can see the barriers are a little bit further out between the road, and there's a little couple of patches of grass as well to kind of maybe catch you a little bit. But if you're not going to be caught by the grass, of course an Armco barrier is ready to ruin your car. Through the final corner, he taps just again does Joel Falzon de Bono, and he'll go over the line. It's a 2-minute 9.4, so already dipping into the 2-minute 9s, and it looks like Jonathan Spiteri has gone and done a 2-minute 8 as well. That's a superb time. It's a 08 mid, as well as Denzel Hadges goes over the line, albeit half a second back. So of course the usual kind of memento here is that there is a little bit of time left on the circuit, but of course the fuel tanks are still fairly full, and we're already 4.5 minutes into the session, so still plenty of time to really work with these GT3 cars, work with what you're given, and then you'll be able to go out and fight for whatever you've got here. So it'll be interesting because of course qualifying usually has defined the kind of idea of what we've got from the races as well. There is Osbert Schweder, I believe, has switched to a BMW as well. I believe that's a very flashy livery that he's got on his car as well. I believe that is in fact new, so really welcoming that on board for Osbert Schweder. I think that hopefully he does carry that at the remainder of the season. You can see there just ahead of him is the big old Mercedes AMG of Christian Samet. He currently lies in P9 there. He's gone pretty well so far in this championship. A couple of good results there, picking up 18 points in the first 2 rounds, and then picking up another 8, so 26 for him on the board. And yeah, well, it's been a superb run, I'd say, for Christian Samet for himself. But it's been nothing magical, nothing lighting up the timing stands. But I think there's been some really good stuff from Christian Samet, a 6th, 6th and a 7th. So pretty much putting in some decent time. We do have 11 cars on the grid as well, so we had 10 last time out in the Spa-Francorchamps, and there is the bright, beautiful scarlet red of Clint Orland, Lewis Hamilton van as well, so sporting that superb livery from Scuderia Ferrari, and hopefully not trying to get rid of any paint there on that right hand side barrier, because he was getting very close to that. Currently sitting down in P8 here, just ahead of JP. They'll head into the pits now, so the driver's still continuing out there, trying to get temperature in their tyre, trying to find the limits of this circuit. I think that's going to be the main kind of point there. Just going around and trying to find the limits, but again, you don't really have much time. You want to be getting maybe 2 or 3 decent lap times, especially with the amount of practice you've done. You're really just testing every single ounce of the circuit. So it really seems to be that it's Jonathan Spiteri ahead of Denzel Adjis for now. Oscar Schroeder putting himself up into 3rd place. But, you know, this is the battle we're currently looking at. You know, it's Jonathan Spiteri, Denzel Adjis, of course, really putting themselves in the hot seat for title contention. Because with 14 points separating the top 3, who knows where this could potentially go with the, you know, Daniel Malia, who's done pretty good so far. He's in 6th place at the minute, but don't let that define how he's done so far. You know, drivers like Denzel Adjis, you know, don't get the best out of their qualifying. You know, they may not be great on 1 lap pace, but then they go through the race and they're absolutely blistering. You saw that from the strategy last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, and it was truly something to behold. I'll let you know, guys. Let you know, viewers. The commentators and the production team, but gave a massive round of applause to Denzel Adjis in that one. That was a wicked piece of driving, just go for that undercut and emerge out in 2nd place when he was kind of stuck behind the train for a long period of time, stuck with his championship rival as well, as it looks like him and Daniel Malia will both head to the pits. Jonathan Spiteri now out there. He's seemingly got a fresh set of boots. He will run his way to the line. Is it going to be a best lap time? I believe not. No, my apologies. No, not this time around. So it does seem like that he has improved. That the driver who's improved is Ayrton Birmingham in 2nd place. So the BMW driver, who was in a little bit of lackluster form, is really pushed on and managed to improve this time around. So yeah, really good stuff there from Ayrton Birmingham. He's still got to maintain this, so he probably wants to be putting himself within maybe that top 2 rows to really put himself in a solid position. But just saw there the rear snapping out away there from the Briton. Position being 6th place. That was all the way back at Suzuka. So he's really looking to try and regain that form as well over the course of this session. We look around the circuit and still looking for that extra little bit of time. Let's keep on board here. In fact, with Ayrton Birmingham, so I wonder if it could be slightly up. The approaches, well, he's a while away and pretty tense down. So there's multiple sectors around this circuit. There's, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 different splits around it before you go over the timing line. So, you know, we'll be able to get those extra couple of tenths and see where they are in terms of timing quite often. Because it looks like it's coming to another split now. Does it going to improve? No, it's half a second. So, he's trying to find here about 700ths of a second, which is, you know, never easy to find. But as you look at tyre as well, he's got not long left. So this is going to be an absolute splash and dash here for Ayrton Birmingham. So if he can get that, maybe a little bit of a splash and then a tyre change, might be on for a really good result. But it will have to be one result and done. Here comes Denzel Adjis. We do have, I believe, 3.5 minutes left on the clock. Remember, it is just over 2 minutes. So you're probably having a look at 13 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock before we then turn our final laps, which will be pretty crucial. So, you know, the tempo of this qualifying session will go a little bit up here. That was Clint Orland putting in a personal best, I believe. Only good enough there for 11th. You saw that flashing up on the timing screen, but you know, it's still not quite there. Almost 2.5 seconds off John off the entire field there of Jonathan Spiteri there on the provisional pole position. Just having a look at the wind, you're kind of getting a bit of a crosswind throughout the circuit, really. So you're really just trying to see if you can maybe battle that out. So that would be really difficult going down the hill section. We were just having a look at how that's all going to go. There is Potsy, David Mitchford. Yeah, it's just like another stat page I have on my right hand side. A decent start to the season for David Mitchford. Got that surprise podium all the way back at Kyoto. Solid run of form. Again, it's not been one to kind of set the championship ablaze, but you know, he's been proving solid ground, I'd say, for David Mitchford. He's really solidified himself in the championship. You know, he's no driver to back down without a fight. You know, he's one to kind of actually challenge for a position, but that's not challenging for anything really. Get 8/10 of a second down on the pole time. Now we find ourselves about to head onto those final laps. So everyone here who's ticking off now is starting to get 2 laps. There is Denzel Agis, he's gone even faster. So has Daniel Malia, he's gone even faster as well. In 4th there, Mitchford goes over the line as well. So it does seem like these guys will be getting a couple of laps. So they will just about, I believe, to head on to their last, well, they'll be setting up for their last lap. So yeah, we're now going into that kind of final minute before the checkered flag. So this is kind of one to maybe back off on, because you know, you've got a massive heat cycle going. You want to be saving those tyres, and then you want to be just carrying, burning your fuel and hoping you've got 1 lap left in the tank. So a little bit of tactical plays here amongst the drivers around in this circuit. Just see as well how close we're going to be getting to the barriers as well, as Oscar Schweder just tries to power over the line. It kind of depends on where you are with your heat cycle of tyres, because you know, if they're completely flaring up now, you want to be cooling them down, ready for that final run. Otherwise, for others, you want to be really pushing on. So this is the final lap, it seems like, for everyone now, because you see the clock there in the bottom left, just under the brown garage. That is it. 15 minutes, and we will now be on our way. So Jonathan Spiteri, our pole sitter by 2/10 of a second. Not entirely sure who will be improving around this lap. It will be a lot of flicking to do to go through. So we'll just keep an eye on that time screen on the left hand side. Again, only 7 laps these guys have been able to get in, 8 as well, and then up to wall. It's fair for Jonathan Spiteri. It's not going to be the best up there. He's already weaving to kind of say, yeah, I surrender on this one. He can't go any faster. Next is going to be Denzel Agius. Can maybe or more go any faster? Doesn't seem like on that part. Denzel Agius over the line, does not improve. Ayrton Birmingham is looking to try and improve. Looks like Daniel Malia goes 4th. Good stuff from him. Ayrton Birmingham over the line, goes and takes the front row, so equals his best qualifying position, goes 43 thousandths of a second behind Jonathan Spiteri, and that was a fantastic run for him. Oscar Schweder putting himself up into 5th place on the grid, and what a final one there. John Paul Vella even going up and putting it into 6th, so some really good laps there at the very end. I didn't really expect anyone to improve last time around, but that kind of Ayrton Birmingham laps really saved the bacon on that one. So a big result for Ayrton Birmingham. This is now a huge chance for the BMW driver to get back his form after what was a disgruntling end to the race at Spa. 3 points picked up. There is a huge opportunity that he could be picking up double digits as well. So that will be the aim for him. I think tonight 6th place is where he will be picking up double points, double digit points, and well, let's see what happened in this race as the cool down lap starts to happen for these drivers. The AI has taken over. It's Jonathan Spiteri on pole position there ahead of Ayrton Birmingham. How will that run go on towards the first corner? Denzel Agius, not the best of qualifiers, but if he's putting himself into third, he's in a really good spot there ahead of Daniel Malia. My word, that top 2 rows are going to be absolutely tasty to really fill your boots on that one. Oscar Schweder and John Bella, third row of the grid for those guys. And they really hope to make amends of their qualifying positions. Strategy can really play a part in this one. We'll have to see how the drivers start and how they mean to go. And it looks like it will be, I believe, there you can see Potsy or David Mifsford there in P7, Christian Samet there in P8. There are your times, a 2 minute 7.938. 0.2 of a second separating the top 3, which is a really close time. Look at that. And you got that big margin there to Daniel Malia. So you're really seeing who the top 3 competitors are in the form of Spiteri, Birmingham and Agius. So that is first, second, and I believe 7th in the Drivers' Championship. Still so much up at stake as well. Christian Sam down there in 8th. He is hoping to maybe put himself into that top 6 if he can really put a race together well. And yeah, how interesting is that going to be? And of course, we do have 3 drivers just below us as well. If we are going to be switching to them, Joel Falzon de Bono, 209.099, and then it's going to be Owen Kassar ahead of Clint Orland in his Porsche 911 RSR. Wow, that is going to be the grid set then for our 4th round here of the Asphalt Kings Championship. But we do have an entire 50-minute race ahead of us. It is going to be a hugely spicy race. As I say, keep an eye on those front 2 rows. What can that 3rd row do as well? They will have to go into turn 1 in single file. So yeah, don't expect a side by side in those early stages. But of course, we'll see you over the other side of the ad break. Then it's going to be race time for round 4 of the Asphalt Kings Championship at the Sainte Croix circuit. Here we go then. The drivers are lining up here on the grid. They will have their rolling start and they will take the green. We go racing here at Sainte Croix, and it's going to be Jonathan Spiteri leading us away here at the French Riviera circuit. They turn their way through the first corner, and it's now going to be about building that temperature in your cars here. Full fuel for a lot of them, so look, they're going to be going for that one stop strategy. And we now see Ayrton Birmingham having to try and put himself on the rear already on Jonathan Spiteri, but it looks like a mistake there from Denzel Agius, because he's now side by side here with Daniel Malia. The clouds really large over the driver, so I wonder if we'll see a change to maybe the wet compound tyre. But on that inside line, Daniel Malia has squeezed past there Denzel Agius, and that won't do well. The championship chaser in this regard, and he now looks to try and launch himself back on, but it's classic Denzel Agius. He's just going to save himself, unless he seems to be a little bit desperate in his move there, as he looks up the inside. So in John Paul Bella up the inside, there goes Denzel Agius, sticking that to Lexus up on the inside of the Nissan. Lexus wins out this time in America versus Japan, turning their way to the right hand and on toward the back section, carrying the car through, and that is already giving us a little bit of a gaggle here, because there is John Bella, there is Nixon in behind, there is Christian Samuelson in the background. Already on this first lap, Osbert Schmeller is a little bit aggressive going in toward that right hander. He saw the gap He went for it, but Daniel Malia already said no, but trying to go later on the break. You see there, the bright yellow Pennzoil Nissan GTR just about manages to squeeze ahead, and that will be crucial for Malia's race. Look behind them, they're all just queuing. We're loving a queue in the UK. I don't know about France, but clearly they're loving their queues as well, because here comes Potsy, and he's already thinking, I want to get past it. This is silly for my race. I want to get past and get myself a bit of clean air. But Christian Sam is already saying hello on the scene here. He's trying to sense an opportunity, and then cross over the line for the first lap we go. And it looks like we now see Jonathan Spiteri still leading up in front. But look at this battle. Let's just stick with it for now, because Malia is continuing to work his way. Oh, there's a moment there for Osman Shvedev. Drops it on the grass, down the positions he goes and drops like a stone. And now he has to sit back in 8th and do all that hard work all over again. I mean, Saul will look like he's going to go up the inside in the Toyota, and in a mad start. This is something to behold. They're in very, very close proximity, and they carry the momentum through that right-hander. Already you're seeing the cars weaving their way. The temperature's starting to build in those hardened compound tyres. You know, it's not like single seaters where they can spend a lap or two getting up to temperature. These are GT cars. They will spend about 3 to 4 laps depending on the circuit. Maybe if it's a circuit like the Nordschleife, but they may spend 1 or 2. But if it's a circuit maybe like your Brands Hatch, or maybe some of the short circuits in the UK, it could be 4, maybe even 5 if you're on the hard compound tyre. And those are going to be so important to figure out. So now the pack here, kind of in the middle, it's just starting to split up, and Denzel Adjis decided to make a run for it down the road, but Daniel Malia will have to stick with him. That's the important thing there for the Pennzoil Nissan GTR. So he's got to try and stick with that Lexus, and especially with all the battling going on around him, the cars in front, the driver ahead of him as well, the cars behind him, meant to say, yeah, that's not going to be very, very easy. Ayrton Birmingham continuing to press on here. It's kind of all about who's willing to use the most of their tyres here. I think if I was Dent here, I would have to absolutely rip these tyres apart and then just try the undercut. You know, it worked last time out at Spa-Francorchamps. Why not attempt it again? Of course, you've got to put a little bit of performance through these tyres, but if you can absolutely tear into them and latch on to the rear of Ayrton Birmingham and Jonathan Spiteri, he's absolutely got to go for it. But the race pace does not look promising here. It's dropping to about 3.4, almost 4.5 seconds here to the race lead, which is really not the best show, is it? He wants to be pushing a little bit far out, but remember the heaviness of that Lexus. I just wonder if that's kind of not what you want in a race car, to need the heaviness of that Lexus in a car that, I should say, on a circuit that really kind of needs that nimbleness about it. You're going through such high speed, through some really high speed and challenging corners. The last thing you need is a car that kind of is heavy on you. You have to slow for some of the corners as well. So it will be a very, very tough ask for Denzel Adjis. But if there's one driver who can make the best out of a bad situation, I think it's Denzel Adjis. He looks to try and push on here, but I think he should be a bit spurred on knowing that Jonathan Spiteri is on for the lead here. But at this moment in time, if Ayrton Birmingham could go out and win this race, it would be an absolute masterstroke. And again, I will remind you, we're looking for a 4th different winner in 4 different races before we then go into the break here at Velocity Esports race. We'll have our 1-week break before then heading onto our 3 round in Europe, of course, Austria and Red Bull Ring, heading over to Switzerland for the Deep Valley Raceway, and head to the Nürburgring over in Germany, again across the ocean into the S. So Denzel Latches here has lost another maybe 0.4 of a second. So I just wonder if that's just down to his car, really, because the Lex just doesn't seem like it's able to really work with that car. He's able, of course, he's very much used to Lexus. He used that last season. I just wonder if it's kind of something that doesn't really suit his circuit. Just kind of thinking about maybe Red Bull Ring, see if that maybe suits it as well. Nürburgring, maybe even Daytona, maybe that could be a circuit that kind of suits the big heavy Nissan with the front engine and the more grunt it had, because you see with these kind of like the likes of the Lexus, the likes of the Nissan, they're all front wheel, front engine grunty cars, and then you as well as Mercedes there, or Christian Sammer, who switched to nicely. He is currently in a bit of a battle, a bit of a train as well here, but he's more on the defensive train here with Daniel Mimsford just circulating behind him in the Porsche, and then we've got Owen Kassar, who's trying to make amends there in the Toyota. The Honda. I have down here that he used the Honda at the beginning of the season, but again, then made a mid-season switch to that Toyota GR car. Already on the defensive here of Joel De Bono wants to try and go through here in his Nissan. Really looking for that opportunity. Goes towards this tight right-hander. Still sitting in a decent place here, but of course, Owen Kassar continuously trying to improve week on week. It's it's a very quiet one for Owen Kassar, but he is definitely improving. He's getting used to his car. He's getting used to the game. He's still trying to really work on his racecraft and pace as well. And maybe in the future, maybe a year or two's time, we could see Owen Kassar maybe becoming a front runner in the Asphalt King series. So never discount Owen Kassar maybe at some point in the future, but this is still the learning phase for some drivers, and some really take this sim racing professionally. We've got teams, we've got drivers in actual decent teams as well, so it's just something to keep an eye out for. Meanwhile, you're seeing here Ayati Birmingham currently second on the road here. It's dropping a little bit away, so I wonder if this is kind of going in the way of the light and nimbler cars like the McLaren around here. We don't really have many. Porsche is kind of a decent car there, and we can already see here Jonathan Spiteri is absolutely a man on a mission. Started out as quite an unlikely champion victor. Really proved as well. He's the only driver on this field with a 100% podium record, and I really don't want to jinx that for him, but it is a very, very noticeable thing we haven't happened along through races. He's been an absolute man before, and he's just opened that gap up to 3 seconds. So he is obviously feeling like he can push with the tyres, he can work with you as well. That mandatory spot stops for a lot of drivers is going to be something to keep an eye out for. So we'll have to have a look here, but he is just setting purple sector after purple sector, and it is just sublime what he's doing at this moment in time. But all he has to do is just manage to not get caught out by strategy. If Hector Birmingham decides that he wants to go for maybe an undercut, then so be it. Respond to it the next lap. Do realise that he's starting to pull down the field. So important for BMW to really work with what he's seen at this moment in time, but it looks like he has closed the gap up a little bit. So, and it was through that wiggly section between some of the more the latter stages of the lap. So it does seem to be that this is a moment in time that Birmingham is really working with that car. But oh my goodness me, we now look back to the battle of the third here. I think Denzel Latches is feeling looking like he's a little bit not quite compliant with the car. I wonder if he's having a bit of a complaint in the sim. It might be that some drivers have already accepted before the practice even loaded, before the race even started, that the best they were going to hope for was a second or a third. You're going to be lucky to be in their position they're currently sitting in, with Daniel Malia still chasing down Daniel Malia, hoping to maybe take a second off of Denzel Atchison. Won't happen this time. So there is only 2 points separating lead third and fourth place. Sorry, my apologies. Without the cross line, I believe 3 points. Just give me a little heads up in terms of chat if that's correct or not. But yeah, Denzel Atchison really trying to work away at what expense he has, and it's going successfully. It's going okay so far, but something is just not quite there for the Brit. Still quite heavy fuel load as well. The car will continuously get lighter, but so will the other cars around him. They all started on fresh tyres and fresh topped up fuel as well. So really just trying to see what he can work with at this moment in time. They're about to go towards the past the 13-minute mark. Yeah, Jonathan Spiteri has done a superb job. Let's have a look a little bit further down the order, because sometimes things are getting a little bit close between a couple of cars. The likes of Christian Samet and as well down there. You can see it looks like John Morvella was in a really good qualifying session we saw earlier. He's just holding that position down, and that McLaren is doing a superb job, which is ahead of Mercedes and the Porsche. I believe is doing a decent job here so far. Very much for the points being given out. So there's no point for the fastest lap, no point for competition. 16 points for the win, 21 seconds. So it does seem like only 3 points separating third and fourth between Dent and David Mifsford. So Mifsford will be hoping to maybe shut that down, but in the case of Denzel Agius, he's kind of damaged in the cage, and he's kind of losing this amount of time in terms of to Jonathan Spiteri. That gap is now opened up to 6.6 seconds, and I think it's just really that Jonathan Spiteri had this pretty much nailed down. He's done an awesome job over that course of the qualifying session. Really just showed his cards early, and wasn't afraid to do so. We had that lap with one of our drivers around the circuit, and then just went immediately into the 2 minutes 800, which is a super quick time, and the time he's showing just continuously getting faster from 2 minutes 10 to 2 minutes 9. It has just been a super run here. It looks like he's going to maybe keep the high 2 minute 9 this time around. No, it's 2 minute 2 minute 10.4 on that one. So really keeping it solid in terms of time so far. The McLaren looks really good. We're just going to stick here with the McLaren, because I just want to see how it works through some of the corners, especially before we get to the bridge. Let's have a look and see if we can get an idea of what that McLaren is looking like, because you're seeing it from the third person view, using all of the circuit there on the right hand side, but it's this quick little section that maybe is quite not working with the big GT3 boys, the chunky boys, as you may want to call them, compared to this McLaren. But it just flows so nicely. We just saw them a little bit of a wiggle out that last bit, but you're carrying so much speed. You're trying to really make sure that the car is underneath you at a great extent. Otherwise, some of those more larger, heavier GT3s may find themselves just being worked away there, understeering a little bit, sliding a little bit more, especially with the tyres now starting to go. And it's amazing just watching that McLaren work his way through the woodlands here, going past all of the viewing spots, which I'm sure, despite this being a fancy circuit, are absolutely wonderful surrounding the lakes of France. Just seeing the kind of the stability of the car is absolutely brilliant to see, because I think that's kind of what's making this car really tick at this moment in time. That's something that has been so important when it comes to racing games. You can get a setup that is so stable when it comes to circuits that twist and turn, especially like Sainte. I'm trying to think of other circuits as well, maybe more compared to real life. I know that Alton Park, there's a lot of twists and turns around that circuit. I'm just trying to maybe even think about the Formula One circuits. There's many left, right, lefts around the Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez over in Mexico. So circuits like that are where the balance of the car is just so important. We hear many drivers kind of complain in real life, and it's the balance is so off, but that's why they complain, because they need it to be really on it in order to be able to really push on. Speaking of pushing on, look at Daniel Malia closing up the back here of Denzel Agius. The Nissan continue to work its way, he looks up the inside, but yeah, I think that's maybe it was partially an overtake, but it's also to kind of say, Denzel, my friend, hurry up, because we're losing time here to the leader, and that's not exactly what we want, do we? So I think it was a little bit of a push on there for Daniel Malley, just a message to the Lexus in front of him to say, we're losing time to the lead here. Look at the gap now, up to 7/10 of a second. And so it does seem like, from what I can see, that it's exactly how GT3s are made to be. The more nimble McLaren is working its way through the gap absolutely fantastically. We'll then get onto a straight line, the back straight we're about to set onto, and these GT3 front engines just roar. They growl down that straight and eat up the time. Yeah, if you have a look there with with Daniel Malia or Denzel, actually see they're just eating in the time. It's just gone under 7/10 of a second. So you're gaining about maybe 2 to 3 tenths of a second just on that straight compared to that McLaren. But then we'll have a look at an eye on the timings when it comes to that middle sector. You see there on the top of your screen. Then we'll kind of see how that kind of compares to McLaren, because through this far section he goes, really keeping the balance of the car in Denzel Agius. That lovely rainbow kind of liveried Lexus has really been working away. We'll kind of set a point on maybe the exit of turn 1, and then we'll kind of get an idea of the time, because look at that, Denzel Agius has now shut that gap down to 6.1 now. 6.0 is now down to 6.5 between Daniel Malia. But just watch it through the corners, because trust me, that will shoot up to nearly 7 seconds. So yeah, just keep it on that time. We'll keep. Let's have a look at driver's eye view. In towards his left hand we go as well, because it looks like Daniel Malia just keeping on tabs here with Denzel Agius. He's got a car in front of him as well, and then we'll head in towards this little section here to the right. Getting so close to that Argo barrier, but he'll go into the right, into the left. Doesn't want to carry too much speed. Carries a little bit too much into that left hand, because you saw he was just understeering to the right there at Denzel Agius. And now look at it. Well, in fact, he's gained. So Spiteri must be lifting off the gas a little bit. So I do wonder. Well, it kind of in theory proved my theory wrong, because that gap is now starting to come down a little bit. I think that Jonathan Spiteri now has realised that he's got big leads to him. He can start saving, he can do whatever. Meanwhile, these guys are absolutely pushing the limit of their cars. And Denzel Agius is really trying to work his way toward the rear of Birmingham. Birmingham is going to be the next car on the road. Gap really close down. So let's have a look and see what Jonathan Spiteri is currently working with, because yeah, I wonder if the fuel is maybe just starting to leak out a little bit. The tyres are severely wrecked. I just saw them kind of drop as you were scrolling, production was scrolling through the grid there. I think it's just taking so much out of the tyres. That gap now down to 2.4 seconds. If Ayrton Birmingham can now push on. And look at the tyre wear as well for down in the left-hand side. The bigger GT3s, the front engine cars, so the BMW, the Lexus, the Nissan, their tyre wear is very, very nice so far. So Jonathan Spiteri has now just pushed his tyres up to the 22nd minute mark before, I've used a lot of my tyres here. I've got to now work my way in here. So it will be interesting to see what they do, because of course the earlier you stop, the less time you'll be in the pits, but you may have to do a little bit more saving. So we're really approaching this halfway stage of the race, which is usually the pit stop time to come into the box for the smart bunker shot. Will it be the same thing here at Sainte? Well, I think so, because you're really knowing exactly where you are. You can make kind of calculations, especially when you're in that second stage of the race, where you hit the kind of midpoint. You can already work out. So if you really think about it, right now, the bigger, heavier GT3s, it would be quite interesting if they decided to come into the pit for fresh tyres. They could maybe just save a couple of tenths if they just maybe made a fuel stop. But well, I think maybe that's kind of something to just maybe not think about. So yeah, approaching that halfway mark of this race, still plenty of strategy clogs working away in the brains of the drivers. I'm not entirely sure if any of them have race engineers. I assume not. But the cogs will be working amongst our sim races here, because many drivers are in different situations. Production, you could just scroll through between Spiteri and Malia, and in fact I forget that, because it looks like Jonathan Spiteri is in, so he is taking no risks in this one, and he will just come into the pit lane now and make that change of tyres, make that set of fuel, get topped all the way up as well. So he'll be in the box for a very, very long time here. I wonder if that will be the same with the other drivers. You probably want to put that to about 85% there. Meanwhile, Daniel Malia, contact between the two, and Denzel Adjun was very lucky to keep that on the road. Daniel Malia decided to send it down the inside. I was like, I'm not having this Lexus in front of me. I'm gonna go through. It was important for his race. He was just sat behind that Lexus for so long, and that must have absolutely frustrated him to the absolute maximum. So it was so important that he made that move, which he did, and now Denzel Adjun will be thinking, well, this is going to be a bit frustrating on this one, so he probably may want to bring this in. But yeah, it was a bit of a surprise there for the likes of Jonathan Spiteri to come in. Yeah, the tyre got absolutely wrecked, but yeah, basically I think he may have made the smart choice here. Of course, especially with these two battling, Ayrton Birmingham yet to come into the pit lane as well. So it will be a big question of will Ayrton Birmingham just respond to what his champion rival has done, or should I say his race rival has done. If you look at the field down there, that's the main thing. That's the main thing that really needs topping up here. But he could probably put that to about 80%, and then do a little bit, maybe about 70. But you can also just sit in the slipstream of Jonathan Spiteri and do a little bit of saving. But the BMW opts to stay out. He thinks his pace is good enough, so he will of course not be fueling to the end. He wants to keep that car nice and light. Wow, we are in for an absolute brawl here, because now Jonathan Spiteri is in massive amounts of clean air after that pit stop. And you just see how long that will last. And that must have been an absolute age sitting in that pit box for the current championship leader, whilst Ayrton Birmingham continues to circulate out there. I think it is just down to the tyres. You know, he just felt so comfortable in the tyres. Now he's starting to get the flashy red light saying, Ayrton, your fuel is low, my friend. Make sure you're coming into the pits at the end of this lap. That's exactly what I think he's going to be doing. So it kind of depends on how high you want, how high in percentage you kind of want your fuel load to be, because you know, he doesn't have to fuel oil all the way to the end. He wants it to be as light as he possibly can. You know, you want this to kind of be where you want to go into the last lap. So I wonder if he can maybe put it to about 70%, and then try and maybe work his way behind, or maybe even in front of Jonathan Spiteri. It kind of depends how long he's willing to sit in the pit lane here. So keep an eye on that pink Roxy inspired livery of Ayrton Birmingham, because it looks like it is redemption for addicts. And if he, of course, last year he was addicted to winning, but it doesn't seem like he's gone on that route this season either. Let's have a look at as well, maybe a little bit further down the field. Of course, that will be a little bit of a midfield battle. You see their Dents as well, keeping on tabs here with Daniel Malia. Into the box will come Birmingham as well. So yeah, he won't want to be missing that one. In comes Daniel Malia as well. So these will be important stops. 3%. In fact, the whole midfield cluster of Samet from Mr. De Bono as well, and I believe Oscar Schroeder will be also involved in that as well. He is also coming in as well. So now that I think that clean air for Jonathan Spiteri will be so important, because that just allows you to push on. But I don't know if it's just me or if this counts to other drivers as well, but if I see a car up ahead, it might be about 3, 4, 5 car lengths or maybe seconds in the long front. I get a little bit, you know, I feel a little bit of pressure to kind of perform here, and to perform he has done. That is a superb momentum here. Sorry about my stutters, but yeah, I was trying to get a sentence out, trying to find the words whilst at an important moment the race is happening. Jonathan Spiteri is back in the lead of this race, but that gap there to Ayrton Birmingham has come right down. And this was important. Look at the fuel load. It is about 75% for the Englishman. Now he needs to try and work his way into fourth position. Keep an eye on the tyre wear, because remember, Spiteri may have tried to make that undercut. Yes, it may have worked. However, those tyres wore really quickly in the first stage 20 minutes ago. This is your battle for the lead of the race in this very critical moment here. This is going to be big here. Round the outside, in fact, goes Ayrton Birmingham, trying to find a room somewhere on this circuit. He switches it to the inside. Birmingham with the straight line speed, side by side in towards the Kingdale Hare. They're door to door, and Ayrton Birmingham leads for the first time here at Sainte. He's going defensive to try and get that McLaren a little bit off put here. Try and force it the long way round, but of course naturally the road will then head to the left, but it doesn't matter. Ayrton Birmingham has put his BMW ahead of the McLaren in such a critical part of the race. Denzel Agius heads for the pit lane now. The fuel is being put in, and this is a massive part of the race. He could probably put that to maybe about 60%, but it's going to be a rough one. Look at Owen Gassar made it to the pit, 0% on his car, as the fuel is now put into the Toyota. Denzel Agius is out, 70% fuel load, soft compound tyre. That is a bold bold statements to make. 19 minutes of this race. Denzel Agius is not out of this one, ladies and gents. He's got to absolutely push them, but, you know, I say push them, but you've got to keep them within kind of a range of about 20 minutes. You've got to last for a range of about 20 minutes, because of course with this being a time race, you kind of get a bit of an idea if it was worked in laps, then of course it would be, let's say, worked in laps. So yeah, a lot of these drivers are in some serious positions in this race, but it is just trying to work this out. And look at that, a purple middle sector prior to Birmingham. He's on for a big result of 26 points. Can go this way, and oh my goodness me, look at that. Denzel Agius is now working his way smoothly towards the rear of the McLaren already. Look at that, 1.1. So what would look to be a strong first 20 minutes of the race. But Jonathan Spiteri is now starting to be broken apart and almost turned into shattered glass for the championship leader. If Denzel Agius can get through on this one, this is going to be big. The top four continue to close in, and look at that gap now down to 0.7 of a second as well. Oh, this is starting to get spicy, putting the extra paprika and all the spices into your meal here. Oh my word, and the chilies as well, because there's 4 for the lead in this one, and it's not over just yet. Wait until we get on that straight, because look, listen and wait for that lettuce to roar. And don't forget that Nissan, because that's going to get a double toe all the way down this straight. So if Daniel Malley wants to do a little bit of saving, hey, feel free, my friend. That's it's a double dose of slipstream. You can also use that to maybe save a little bit of fuel, but I think saving fuel will be the last thing on each of these drivers' minds, and they head their way now up the hill on towards this chicane section. You pull the car to the right, pop on the brakes, down into the left hand. Amalia trying to find the room here. How big is that for Denton's mover here as the sun starts to set around the mountains lakeside on the Sainte Croix circuit? Where will Denzel Agius make his move? Where does he dare find the room to try and squeeze that McLaren, squeeze past that McLaren with a Lexus side space? Well, this could be the next gap, and it's going to intensely close in. To the left goes Dent, to the right goes Dent, and here comes Daniel Malia to the right hand side. 3 wide, we head in toward this section. My word, they're door to door to the inside with Jonathan Spiteri, and Denzel Agius almost gets shown the Arco barrier. Massive moment in this race, and Denzel Agius just says, "What? You want to try that? I've got more than enough time to try and squeeze past you." Round 2 coming up soon. Don't go away, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a serious battle. And meanwhile, I head to Birmingham. I have no idea any of this is happening at the moment. So I'm looking at cruising at 4.5 seconds in front. To the inside goes Denzel Agius. Will he be able to go late on the brake? Daniel Ricciardo-esque on the brake pedal, and he managed to squeeze on through. But himself on the left hand side for the next corner. That makes himself absolutely abundantly clear ahead of McLaren. He will try and look up the inside. Championship rivals as well. This is huge for the championship, and if my calculations are correct, it will be equal on point going in towards the next round if it stays like this. But Daniel Malia will now say no to that. He'll want to try and squeeze on through. That McLaren is just lacking pace, and to be honest, I am not sure why. We'll have a look and duck the inside line. Dent needs Daniel, I'm being told. He does, in fact, need Daniel, because in this scenario, if Daniel Malia does go down the inside of Jonathan Spiteri, which he was having a look at. Oh, you can see how defensive Jonathan Spiteri is going, but this is absolute dreamland for Denzel Agius, because he now becomes, in the live point standing, the championship leader. Jonathan Spiteri has just seen, in the space of about 10 minutes, his lead dissipate from first down to 4, 6 seconds off the lead. What has happened to that McLaren? He tried to go to the inside line. He hit the upper barrier. Tried to find a way through with the slipstream, but Daniel Malia will absolutely say, no, you don't. The struggling McLaren finds himself on that outside line. A little bit of a tap at the barrier. They're door to door. They're scraping each other. They're sharing pain. The silver going on to the yellow and vice versa for the McLaren. But it looks like Terry is holding on to the edge of despair here. He is on the verge of losing his podium streak. Sainte may just be the title in swinger at this moment in time. We're about to head into the final 12 minutes of this event, and what an event it's been. Daniel Malia trying to find that line to try and go through, trying to open up the next left-hander for casting that car maybe onto the back of the McLaren, maybe trying to find a room down the hill they head and onto the very, very fast section of the circuit. He'll just keep it to that inside line, throw that defensive shape, but Daniel Malia late to the brake, my word, they nearly come to blows between the McLaren and the Nissan, and I'm sure the emotions of Daniel Malia are just getting so frustrated, but the power of the Nissan just shows and becomes so superior. It depends on Nissan and through on the papaya and grey McLaren, and that now brings Denzel Andrews to the lead of the championship in the live point scoring. What an in-swinger, what a change for the title race. We're not even into the midway season break. There's still, not including this, 4 races to go. Over, I think, 104 points up for grabs. And my word, that is all going to be to play for. Daniel Malia really now pushing on and looking like he's going to be leaving that McLaren in the dust. Because look at that, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, up to 9 tenths of a second to that McLaren after dipping that wheel on the grass. Let's have a little bit look further back, because Salmon is leading an absolute train, and if he can just lead this train for now, he can become hit. He can really post in now his best race goal of the season, which will be an absolute fantastic moment there for Christian Salmon. Looks like the Mercedes now, of course, not feeling too satisfied for now, because Jean-Paul Vella, 4th in the championship, 1 podium to his name, is chasing that Mercedes down. The sunlight is now starting to get into the eyes of the drivers here. They head their way now in towards this hard right-hander, but of course it gets covered by the trees. Jean-Paul Vella really showing up there in his Marlboro McLaren. It's been so interesting to see how these cars have really worked. Of course, this has kind of been the tale of the season. It's really been high, growling, powerful front engine cars like the BMW, like the Lexus, like the Mercedes, like the Nissan, up against the kind of more kind of edgy McLaren that is able to rotate around corners. The nimbleness of that car really works for the likes of Jonathan Spiteri and Jean-Paul Vella. So, these guys are really working at a superb amount of pace, and it's been so great to see. I've been so impressed with how they've all gone about this season. I think, as I say, I've been so impressed with you guys, and this season just continues to get even better, even more intense. It just shows that extra level here, and Jean-Paul Vella just tries to find that move there, and Christian Salmon just went a little bit too fast into one of the corners. It's been too much in terms of under pressure there, but also David Nielsen, as I said in the qualifying session, is just not somebody you wanted to kind of throw straight in towards the let's forget about him pile. That's somebody who is very much up for a fight if he gets an opportunity. You can find for a gap or actually go for it. So John Corbella is somebody that could definitely do something. Oh, has he gone off? I saw the car maybe veer a bit to the left there, I believe. Yeah, Christian Snapshot 7th. The Mercedes has dropped down to 7th there, and that may be a little bit of a contact maybe between GP and Christian Salmon. So, oh, what a harsh way to hand that over. He's now going to try and find his way up the inside of David Nipsford, but it doesn't look like the Porsche will be giving in that anytime soon. So Nipsford tries to push on, but a very fired up Christian Salmon, seething after his mistake, handing over P5 to the 2 places there. Trying to put that Porsche and go for his equal best race position. You have to really see how this pans out. We now have 7 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock before we then tick down to that checkered flag into the first corner for the 20th time in this race. You can see how just these cars really work away. Salmon taking a dip in towards the turn 1 outside grass. The cars continue to get lighter and lighter, and of course this next dip, that's exactly how they want to be. He searches up that inside line, but Mifsud says once again, John Corbella will be absolutely loving what he's seeing in his rear view mirror, because he'll be driving along, seeing that and be thinking, well, if they're battling, well, great for me, I can just go after this and take another big pool of points. I think it will be absolutely marvellous. As far as I'm aware, yeah, he's never finished lower than 5th. Never finished lower than 5th. He's finished 5th, 2nd and 5th so far. So that's been an absolutely rocket for John Corbella. I remember last season, I believe, got a podium, I believe it was Bella as well. So both Bellas on the podium in Sky in Japan. John Paul, whilst he may be on his own this time around, well, I'm sure he's absolutely loving it. He's really got together with the Gran Turismo games. Really got along with it recently. But Sam is now trying to find his way up towards 6th place. He goes trying the long way around. He's going to squeeze that Porsche, give him a little bit of the hip, the shoulder, and he does find a way through that. It's an astounding overtake there from Christian Salmon, and we now see ourselves into those final 5 minutes and 50 seconds of this race. Salmon really did push the limits here, and he's really on for a decent result. Yes, it could have been a 5th place, but now Samuel, now look at that, David Nixon now searching around that outside, trying to get the launch off the corner. Will Salmon go defensive here? He'll force on the defensive champion. Look at that. Nixon is right on the rear end there. He's going to force the Porsche to go around that outside, and we just hang on to this one. Oh, big one from the Mercedes AMG. They continue to try and push forward. That Mercedes almost bump drafted. He is in fact bump drafting, is Daniel Mitchell. So this race has absolutely come alive in the second half. And Mitchell trying and pushing and finding a way past the Mercedes AMG in towards the left right-hander. Sorry. Down the hill they go. Sam with the inside line. The sweeping out left-hander going in the way of Potsy, and then they'll head on towards the bridge. But the Mercedes hang on. A huge defensive role here. John Fowles on the Bono in the Nissan would love to have a go, but it'll be a huge risk to try and make it 3 wide so late on. He knows his race car. He knows that car should have been in there, and good one on the Bono. Kind of deciding not to go aggressive in these last 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. But this is a titanic battle that Bono has maybe waited his chance out. He'll be able to go after David Metzger, of course, another driver who took a podium at that Kyoto driving park, and that race was absolutely chaotic in terms of strategy. The leaders holding each other up, everyone not knowing what was going on. Bono's going to search up the inside. Will he grab 7th place by the end of the braking zone? By the time he gets to the apex, no, because Daniel Mifsud just spiced around that outside, and will push himself back into 7th place. Titanic levels of fighting, of course. Notice the top left there. We've got 11 to 10 cars. That time it was down to Clint Orland. Unfortunately, he is backed out of the race, and what a shame for the Scuderia Ferrari livery. That's a shame not to see Clint Orland after such a great run of results. Only Kyoto was the one where he's not had the best result. Other than that, seems to be the kind of odd one. So round 1 and round 3 gets a double-digit points in the even ones. Round 2 and round 4 leaving 3 and 0. So not a bit of a mismatch year for Clint Orland, but tumbling down the standings, probably down to about 9th about 9th here. Meanwhile, we check in with Jonathan Spiteri, who has really lost the back of not just Daniel Malia, but also the leader of IATA Birmingham. And of course, his pace is really gone here. The pace has not been with the McLaren, but overall he's done whatever he could, but it just hasn't quite worked out. Meanwhile, Birmingham is currently now being lurked here by Denzel Andrews. That soft tyre hasn't worked in terms of the lifeline. It kind of has. Those tyres you went up. Of course, if you switch between the two, keep an eye on the tyre performances between the two. You'll see that the Lexus is a little bit better off, but look at the fuel load here for Denzel Adjit, because their stats starting to get a little bit low maybe for his liking, but he is within 1.2 seconds of that BMW, and we turn our way on towards this final corner. This is going to be pretty close here. I reckon we're getting another lap. Denzel Adjit is in trouble here, I believe, because we've now got 2 minutes, now got a minute and 10 seconds. So, my apologies. I worried a little bit there for Denzel Adjit, because, that could have been a little bit scary. I saw 48.40, and I was like, hang on, he's not going to get to the end of the race here, is he? But it looks like he is, in a dash for victory between the two championship contenders. The final minutes go. We've got the white flag this lap. If you, of course, not in America, the white flag signals the final lap of the race, which we're currently sitting on. Denzel Adjit now works his way up the hill on toward the bridge. That gap down to 6 tenths of a second. He's got one place he can make that move, and that is going to be down on toward that right-hander just in toward the forest section. He gains. And this is where the fuel is now starting to really dissipate here. We're now starting to see the flashing red light, and that's exactly where both drivers want to be. This is going to be a last-ditch attempt. Denzel Adjit is really trying to find the room here, whilst IATA Birmingham has had an absolutely beautiful run to the potential victory here. He's going to now forward Denzel Adjit on that outside line. Who's going to have the grunt? Who's going to have the overspeed? They're going to go side by side in toward the King here, and it will be last delayed breakers, and surely it should be going down to IATA Birmingham. This is going to be absolutely dramatic. They're leaning on each other. The BMW trying to force out the Lexus. The Lexus are going to stick it on the inside. Unbelievable stuff. Through the left-hander. They're still side by side. It's going to go down to the final corner. Is it going to be defensive shape here from IATA Birmingham? Will he be putting it in the middle of the second? Oh no! Dent in the wall! And that now has the win over. It is redemption day for IATA Birmingham. It's 4 winners in 4 races. IATA Birmingham wins in Sainte Croix ahead of Denzel Adjit, who will retain the championship lead. But what about that finish? Daniel Malia will take home 3rd. It will be the end of the streak for Jonathan Spiteri. It will now be a 4th place as well, and for him, further down, that was Owen Kassar, who will head over the line for P9. Osbert Schwede. What went wrong for the BMW? Well, it was off camera, but yeah, clearly that BMW was not quite there today, and unfortunately full finish down in P10. 23 laps. It was the slow burner of a race, but my word, the fire absolutely burned and burned at those last couple of moments. And what an end to an absolutely classic for Sainte Croix race. There is your victor. It is Ayrton Birmingham, and a first race win of the season, and since his of course of his championship defending year. He is your winner, ahead of Denzel Agius, 4.7 seconds at the line. But what about that attempt around the outside? That is going to be played on replay until the end of time in the Velocity Esports racing community. Daniel Malia takes home third. A fantastic result and the fastest lap of the race. The only driver to go, the one or two drivers going to the 2-minute 8 throughout that session. Johnson Spiteri, well, he'll hand over the championship lead here, but it just wasn't it for him in the second half of that race. It just all fell apart, fell to within 10 seconds of Ayrton Birmingham, and well, what a disappointing result for him. He'll be fighting back in 2 weeks' time at the Red Bull Ring. John Paul Vella will take home a fantastic fifth place in the second of the two McLarens, with Christian Sammet in his Mercedes. Then we'll find David Mifsud, who just about managed to hold off Joel Falzano de Bono for that P8, P7 position. And then we find Owen Kassar in his Toyota GR Supra, and then we'll have Oscar Zverev in P10 in his BMW. And there's your own retirement. The Porsche of Clint Orland rounds off your 11 drivers who signed up for this race. And boy, what a race it was. That might just be, well, do I dare say it? Do I dare say race of the season? Remember, we do have 4 races coming up left. Of course, we don't want to miss any of them. You know, they're going to be absolute corkers. If you need a reminder, we do head to the Red Bull Ring after a break, because I think after that one, we definitely need a break. Red Bull Ring heading up. So, of course, known for being on the Formula One calendar, hosted many single-seater races, but it's hosting GT3 this time. DeForest Raceway over in Switzerland, of course, well known for being a country that is pretty much banned racing from the 1950s all the way up until when Formula E took to the streets of Zurich up until in 2017. Only lasted a few years. Never seen a race until they left Bern in maybe 2019, I believe. Then we find the Nürburgring. Of course, a huge circuit. I believe it's going to be the GP Strecke rather than the Nordschleife. Then we'll head to Daytona for the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, the course known for the use of the Daytona 24 hours. And what an amazing race. A huge congratulations to Ayrton Birmingham. And from myself here, my name is Adam Reid. A huge thank you to Velocity Esports Racing as well. This has been a production brought to you by Velocity Esports Racing. A big thank you to our collaborators and partners and sponsors of Hyundai, Intercomp, Monsters Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. Well, take the break now, but in 2 weeks' time, we'll have James back in the commentary box with us for the Red Bull Ring. We'll see you in a fortnight's time, where our GT3 drivers will go head to head once again for the final 4 rounds of the Asphalt Kings. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Good night.